What do you think of the wage gap? For the wages of sin is death, but the gap in wages is no picnic. So basically, it feels bad that anyone should receive more money than anyone else. Because people think like, well, I need money to live and money buys me all the things I need to live. So the idea that somebody should make more than I do is like law of the jungle. You feel like there should be something that stops people from making different amounts of money. So in free markets, people make different amounts of money. But because people think that there's something unjust or immoral about that. They want the government to step in and force people to give up their extra money. Now, when you say wage gap, you're referring to the gender wage gap, that the men and women making different amounts of money. So I made a whole other video, and then I watched a different video by Jordan Peterson where he talks about how women they're genetically selected to take care of these little helpless infants because unlike, say, deer, the baby doesn't come out capable of running around and doing stuff for itself. The baby has no powers at all. So it's possible that women have been like genetically selected to sort of stop everything and pay attention to babies. In other words, to not have to have a looser sense of their own needs and to be able to surrender their own needs to like little babies. But the point is that he's saying that other environments, women are actually not suited to the workplace in the sense that they're too willing to give over their needs to their environment, and it's sort of a disadvantage. This advantage they have with babies is a disadvantage that they have when bargaining for money and asserting their own prowess in terms of making more money. And since I watched that, I realized that's sort of like the missing link. I made a whole nother video where I was talking about how the feminists sort of have an evil plot to rule the world because they think that the wage gap is like 25%, when scientists, actually, people who do the research, say that the actual wage gap is like 3 to 5%. That with the same work, women will receive like 3 to 5% less than men will. And this actually is pretty easily attributable to, I would say, women's, what Jordan Peterson was talking about. They're highly adapted to to surrendering their own needs in the service of little babies. And that means when they go into the workplace, their instinct is or into many other situations, their instinct is to surrender their own needs. But they really need to learn to stop that. They need to learn when it makes sense to surrender their own needs and when they're just following an instinct that is going to earn them less money. However, there's a lot of other factors going on. I mean, one is that they don't want money. They want what's called work-life balance, where and they're willing to give up higher income in exchange for the flexibility that allows them to maintain all their important relationships, from taking care of their children to just having good relationships with other people. Also, yeah, I mean, I had some good things to say about Marxism, so maybe I'll just do them by themselves. So it's sad that anyone should make more money than anyone else. Like, this is a very common sort of negative emotion people have about reality itself. Because the two uses of money are, well, I think the two reasons people want money are, one, that it's useful, that's very practically useful, and that's the main reason. But the other is that it's symbolic of like how much God loves you. Like, people think that the fact that they're not making as much money as the next guy means God doesn't love them as much. And so that makes them mad, and they become communists, and then they take over the world. Karl Marx promoted what's called the labor theory of value. The true value of any human activity is determined by the time it took for the person to do it. So if a person spends an hour doing anything, it's worth exactly the same amount of money as any other person spending any other hour doing any other thing. As long as it's quote-unquote labor, then it's worth the same amount of money. This is the political theory that you get when you just feel bad about how people should get different amounts of money. You get a political theory that says everyone's time is worth exactly the same amount of money. And they start, evil organizations to try to basically destroy countries. And they have destroyed many countries that way. But the thing is, it starts with like a sentimental emotion. So you have an evil result that starts from, I just have to show you Gulag again, because I'm still reading it. It's about the Russian prison system. And it's basically the most heartbreaking story I've ever read. It's probably worse than the Nazis, because it lasted a lot longer, but it killed at least as many people. So how do you go from what appears to be like a warm sentimental emotion of wanting everyone to receive the same amount of money to political ideas about how the government should use force? It should force people to do things that they're not doing already. The thought that 1 hour's labor is worth the same no matter who's doing it and no matter what they're doing, that thought leads to people getting into Marxist ideologies which ruin countries and have ruined many countries. And so it's really sad that the human instinct to feel compassion within terms of how much money people are getting leads to so much suffering. Whew, okay, this was a hard one. If you if you liked it, then so this is me advertising for my channel now. I am, I want you to remember who I am and stuff. And